when it comes to week 3, it's a little bit tougher to say how these teams are. They're either 0-2, 1-1, or 2-0. So I guess this is pretty much like week 2, where you're trying to figure out where exactly you're going to be going into the quarter-way point of the season. You're trying to figure out, like, how can we get better? How can we get even better if you're 2-0 or 1-1? Or what's one thing that we can get good at, or what's one thing that we can adjust for the next couple of weeks? That remains to be seen. But this is the kind of week where it's kind of like this is kind of like our kind of like, I don't know what the best terminology to describe it is, but it's kind of like a early do or die kind of thing. Because if you start 0-3, then it's probably like, okay, our season is probably not going to be the way we hoped for, or something like that. So we start off with Thursday night football. It's probably not going to be like the other 2 Thursday night games, and that's kind of a bummer. we had a 2-0 streak of good Thursday night football games, and it's going to come to an end, sadly. We have the Carolina Panthers going up to Houston to take on the Texans in this is actually our first of the new scheduling, our new schedule. Like, there's another interconference game, like the AFC versus NFC. So it's kind of like a new thing that they're doing. That's why we had the additional 17th game. So this is the first one. So the Panthers take on the Texans. Again, it's not really the most exciting Thursday night game because, well, rookie quarterback David Mills is starting, and we don't know how the Texans are going to perform with him under center. And it's going to be a very short turnaround for Mr. Mills. So I'm going to go with the Panthers on this one. They're probably going to have a good follow-up performance against a rebuilding Texans team. So going into Sunday with the early morning games, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Titans are coming off a big overtime win against the Seahawks in Seattle. And they're going to be facing a Colts team that doesn't know if they're going to have Carson Wentz or Jacob Eason under center. But nonetheless, I expect Derrick Henry and this Titans offense to be ready to feast on a Colts team that's pretty much limping into these first 2 weeks. So, New York Giants, 0-2, are going to be taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who are also 0-2. So, both of these teams are looking for that first win. And one of those teams are going to get it here. The problem is, neither team has sparked any hope of optimism. That's kind of the problem here. Especially the Falcons, man. They've been blown out in their first 2 games. They've been outscored, like, badly. I do think, however, like, because the Giants are very prone to mistakes, this will be their get-right game. The Falcons will be getting it right, bouncing back, hopefully, considering they don't choke. They will get right. They will get their first win of the season, and it'll be Arthur Smith's first win as an NFL head coach. And in a very big matchup in week 3, this is a very big one. The LA Chargers travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. It's a very early yet critical divisional game between AFC West foes who are in need. Both of them are in need to bounce back from crushing losses. It's going to be a battle between Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. But look for the Chiefs to outlast the Chargers because they have talent, and they also are pretty pissed off. They are pretty pissed off that they lost to the Ravens. So the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers in another divisional rivalry clash. The Steelers are also probably pissed that they underperformed against the Raiders at home. So look for them to take out some frustration against a mid-Bengals team. So I'm going with the Steelers on this division clash. The Chicago Bears, now starting Justin Fields, travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Justin Fields is starting this game, but I don't know. I just hope Matt Nagy doesn't find some way to fuck this up. Like, all he has to do is unleash Justin Fields to his potential, man. Isn't that hard? Is it really that hard? Anyway, the Browns, I think they will edge the Bears in a close one because, well, the Browns haven't inspired much confidence when it comes to closing out these games, but we'll see. The Baltimore Ravens follow up their Sunday night win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They go to the Motor City to take on the Lions. The Ravens should pick apart this Lions team. The Lions are still they're grit and grind these last few. They're more so than the last few years. They're still finding their footing. So I expect this Ravens team to pick apart the Lions. The New Orleans Saints travel to New England to take on the Patriots in a very critical AFC versus NFC matchup. This is kind of a proof something game for both these teams' quarterbacks. For Mac Jones, it's whether or not he can thread the needle for when the Patriots are either up or down. They're trailing or they're leading this game. Like, can he close the gap? For Jameis Winston, he has to bounce back from his typical famous Jameis performance last week. But I expect the Patriots to win what should be a very interesting game in this early time slot. So up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals going up to AEW land to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, still looking for their first win of the season. Now, for this matchup, we have two young QBs and two first overall picks. On paper, it should be a fun matchup. Again, on paper. Sadly, though, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are pretty much going to run all over Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars in AEW land, so I'm going with the Cardinals in this matchup. So, to close out our early morning slate for this Sunday, the Washington football team goes up to Buffalo, New York to take on the Bills. This will be a big test for Taylor Heineke as the starter for Washington on the road against a potential Super Bowl favorite in the Buffalo Bills. Chase Young and that Washington defense is also going to have a big test against Josh Allen and that Buffalo offense. So they're going to have a tough task in trying to limit him. But look for the Bills to win this one. So in the afternoon, this afternoon slate of games, the New York Jets traveled to the mile-high city of Denver to take on the Broncos. The Denver defense might have some fun with this Jets team. The rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, the Jets City offensive line, that might be a recipe of fun for this Denver team having its home opener. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos on this one, but obviously they're going to have to do their part in not falling asleep on the wheel on offense-wise. So the Las Vegas Raiders go back home in the Sin City to take on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins head back to Las Vegas, but as we know now that Tua Tagovailoa will not be starting for the Dolphins. It'll be Jacoby Brissett that will be under center, and man, that's going to be a big downgrade for the rest of the offense. So either way, the Raiders are probably going to pounce all over the Dolphins. They're going to build upon their 2 wins over the Ravens and the Steelers, and I'm going with the Raiders in this one. The Minnesota Vikings have their home opener against the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, the Vikings lost to the Arizona Cardinals, but I mean, I guess their offensive performance in their eyes was, I guess, encouraging. Like Kirk Cousins wasn't all Charlie checked down in week 2, but they're going to need that kind of performance that they had against the Cardinals against Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. Oof. So it's going to be a we'll see approach with this game, but I'm going with the Seahawks on this. And in the big matchup of the afternoon slate on Sunday, the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to face the LA Rams in Los Angeles. This is an early preview of what could we possibly expect in the playoffs in January. There's a lot of talented players on both sides of the ball, but I think the Tampa Bay Bucks will barely escape Hollywood with a big victory over the Rams. Now we close out the Sunday slate with Sunday Night Football action. The Green Bay Packers take on my San Francisco 49ers in the Bay Area home opener. Finally, after 2 weeks of the Niners being on the road, they finally get to open up Levi Stadium to a packed house in Santa Clara. This is a rematch that has happened many times in the last 3 years, and it goes down again in the brightest lights of Sunday night. So the 49ers pulled out a grit and grind victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers bounced back from their terrible loss to the Saints and having a shutout second half victory over the Detroit Lions on Monday night. We'll see which team proves they're the real deal this Sunday night. But I'm rolling with the 49ers because, well, they got that defense that could shut down Aaron Rodgers at any point in time, but it's a wait-and-see approach. So Monday Night Football, we have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Jerry's World to take on the Dallas Cowboys in what should be a interesting divisional clash. Now, again, like with the New York Giants and the Washington Football Team, like this is probably going to be rubbed off as it's just the NFC East. But honestly, I think the worst division in football can go, that honor can go to the NFC South, because at least with the NFC East, I think, with the exception of the New York Giants, I think the Eagles, the Cowboys, and Washington, at least they have an interesting case to win the division. And this is a case in point here between the Eagles and the Cowboys. Probably another addition to their rivalry. Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts might have gotten a little bit exposed against the 49ers against a better defense. But we'll see which Jalen Hurts shows out on Monday night. Whether or not that offense can bounce back from a pretty quiet performance in week 2 against the 49ers. We will see. As for the Cowboys, they're going to be looking to build on their performance from week 2 as they open up to a fully packed AT&T Stadium. I think that they're just going to have more than enough, because they have more firepower with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke Elliott, and now Tony Pollard. They have more firepower than the Eagles to get this win on Monday night.